Hey there, fellow streakers. It's Jeff and Jamie, and we are back with you on another podcast after several conversations that we've been having all morning about what in the world we're going to talk to you about.
It's been a good conversation. We're excited to be here this morning.
Because we've been talking about personal performance, and actually that has been the thing that we have been discussing is our own personal performance and how we can get better.
Yes, we have.
At our own personal performance.
I want to share.
Can you share something?
I want to share something that happened this morning.
It was kind of cool. There was something. I thought that it was neat that happened this morning. Go ahead. You can share it.
So, first of all, welcome to our streaking prod. Wow. Maybe I should just say hi, guys.
Hi, streakers.
Welcome to our streaking podcast, where we talk about all things that help us to improve and be able to get better through the things that we're doing through our streaks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
I thought that was really good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It looked like you were trying to come up with all the right words as you were saying that. You were just thinking about it.
You know what it was?
What?
There was this woman that I saw that did a broadcasting thing on a recorded. It's supposed to be a live event, but it was recorded because of COVID. We couldn't be, and I couldn't watch it when it was live, so I was watching the recording of it.
Yes.
And the broadcaster that they had on there was this beautiful, tall woman from Spain with these awesome bangs and beautiful long hair and big green eyes and the most amazing accent.
Really?
Like I could just listen to her forever. And she was a broadcaster. So I think I was trying to channel her.
You were trying to channel that
Didn't
broadcasting.
work very well.
It didn't go.
I mean, the
it didn't
truth
make it
is,
all the way through. You're like, I'm Jamie.
I'm Jamie. I'm just never going to be from Spain. No matter how much I watch and look and admire.
If you've seen Jamie, she is definitely not from Spain. She's Norwegian.
I'm Norwegian.
Yeah. She's got beautiful bright eyes that are gorgeous green or blue, just depending on the day or the look.
But I am not from Spain, and I don't have the really
very
cool
very fair
accent.
complexion.
Okay,
so we're running along.
We were out this morning on our run. And because we have a streak to run or walk at least a mile a day, and honestly, because of COVID. Because COVID happened, you are working from home, which has allowed us to have a pretty good routine.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
We have a routine of dropping our son off at the bus, and then we go out either on a walk or a run.
Right.
And because we live in a neighborhood that we want to walk out the door and just go, we're on sidewalks. There's not really running trails anywhere close to us. And
there's only one way in and out of the neighborhood.
There's only one way in and out of our neighborhood.
What do we have? Like we have three routes because we'll do a 3-mile route. We have 3 3-mile routes, and we'll do one of the three.
One of the three. But because we're often running in the morning when everyone is dropping off to school, I think we've become a little bit visible. I also think because you're tall and I'm short. But anyway.
So speaking of tall and short, I'm 6'5", Jamie is 5'3".
Yes.
So I'm tall, broad-shouldered, big. Jamie is small, tiny, and petite.
Yes. And so when we run, I think there's a little bit of like, oh, how cute. They can run together. So anyway, we were out today, and we've had a couple times recently, I feel like this has happened, which is why this was noticeable to me, but a couple people that have said something like, oh, like we met a new couple in our neighborhood, and they said first thing, oh, I know you. You guys are those guys that you're running every day. And I thought, oh, okay, they've seen us out running. So today we were running our little 3-mile thing, our little 3-mile lap. It's not, I want to call it a loop, but it's not a loop.
It's not a loop.
Just
it's
a
out
straight
back.
line.
It's
and
a mile and a half out, mile and a half back.
And we're on the way back, and we pass a woman, and she has her AirPods in, and she stops us, and she goes, I just want to say thank you to you guys, because you are out here every day. And she said, she goes, whether I pass you as I'm walking or as I see you as I drive by in my car, she goes, I just am so happy that you're out here every day. And I just wanted you to know that you're having a good influence on people, even though you may not see it. And then she just went back on her walk. And I thought, how interesting, because as you thought, I thought, what is it that influenced her? What is it that made her feel good about seeing us out running? And it wasn't just seeing us running. It had to be the consistency of seeing us doing it.
Oh, yeah.
That, a lot of times.
That it's like, wow, those people are out there every single day.
Every single
How's
day.
How's it that they were out there all the time?
That?
Yeah.
So as you think back on the experience, what is it that she was excited about?
So I think there's two things. Before I answer that question, there's two things that impressed me. One, I appreciated her courage to stop us.
I did too.
I think it's difficult sometimes to stop people that are maybe strangers to you. However, so this now goes to your question and what I think and what I see in my own life when I work with people who are consistent. When I work with people who are consistent, it inspires me. I have a couple of leaders that I work with at Franklin Covey right now who are inspiring because of their consistency. And I know that every single week they're going to perform or do the activity that they said they were going to perform or do. And it's not just keeping commitments. I don't mean that. I mean, it's like, for example, and I'll just tell you, Mark Josie, he's my boss. Fantastic. He is as consistent as the day is long. It is just consistent. Every single week I will have a one-to-one meeting with him and we will have a team meeting every single week. And if he's not there, the team meeting still happens. And that credibility but it takes a while to build up credibility from that particular consistency. And so what I think happened with her is it took a little while, but when she saw us enough and then there came an opportunity, because I've done this before. I've seen people and I've thought, you know what, I'm going to say something to them the next time I see them, and I may never see them again. But this, because we're out there doing it again and again and again and again and again, it's like you get to that point where you're like, where you can say, I'm going to say something to them, and then, oh, there they are again. I'm going to say, oh, there they are again, and I'm going to, and then you finally get to that point where you're like, you know what, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being consistent. That is great. And that's what streaking, I mean, that's what led us to streaking all along the way. I mean, way back when we started, the whole thing is because you and I were looking at our lives and we saw a deficiency.
And I read about the article about the couple that had been streak running for 15 years, and it was inspiring.
Right. Jeff and Diane Shumway. Maybe someday they'll be listening to this podcast and we will appreciate
and they'll know how they've changed our lives.
I sent them a copy of the book. I don't know if it was the right Shumways, but I sent them a copy of the book and told them
if not,
thank
there's
you.
a Jeff and Diane Shumway out there somewhere
that
has a copy of the book.
And you can look in the book if you haven't had a chance to get the book or share the book with someone else. In there is the story of Jeff and Diane Shumway, and that was what started this entire adventure. I mean, as far as you're looking out the window,
that's because
as if
we
there's
have
something...
this window, and I swear there is a bird that keeps flying by it, but I never look in time to see the bird.
And so
then I'm like, is it a bug that's climbing up the window?
Where is it? Is it out there?
All right, I will not be distracted.
So sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Bird. I was just looking at that bird over there.
We are on one today.
Anyway, so I think you asked me the question, what was it that inspired her? What was it that, that she felt? I think that we all love someone who is consistent in a world that's uncertain.
I think it. This dependability, there's something about
and I think we like that in ourselves.
Consistency that you look at and you're like, okay, I knew. Like with Cal Ripken Jr., did the people watching baseball, was there some level of comfort and feeling that all was right with the world?
Because he was on the field.
Because they knew he was going to show up.
He was going to be there. He was there last time and he's going to be there next time. Didn't matter. Cal's there.
There's just something comforting and solid about knowing that they showed up.
I think that is what is at the core of streaking is the whole consistency in that it's not only that I like someone else showing up, but then when I apply it to my own life, I'm appreciative, if you will, I have credibility in myself. Mm-hmm. I mean, rarely now do you and I look at something that we want to be doing consistently and think I would never do that. More what we do is we say, do we want to add that as a streak? Because we know
that is a good point. No longer is consistency the question. The question is
my commitment.
My commitment is right. Am I ready to commit?
Yeah.
And then asking myself, is this something I really want to do?
Right.
You bring up a really good point, because we were talking last night about performance and about the performance curve.
Jamie asked me on a date to sushi, and it was absolutely wonderful. So we were talking about the performance curve.
So, and talk a little bit about what a performance curve is. I wish we could draw it for people.
Right.
But
so there, as you look at in statistics, you look at bell curves, And this is a personal performance curve. And we talk about it in my consulting work. We talk about it as organizations performance.
Okay.
A lot of people and how they perform and how you can get more people performing at the higher end of the scale. So if you're listening to this, just visualize, if you can, a horizontal line and put low on one side of that line and high on the other side of that line. Okay, so you're going from low to high. Now, on the vertical side, put percent of time. So from 0% of the time to 100% of the time. And the whole title of this particular graph is performance, personal performance. And think about your personal performance. In other words, when you think that when you're really doing well, when all cylinders are firing, you're feeling good about all the different things that you have been participating in, the activities that you have, that's high performance. Okay? And low performance is you're off your game. You just don't feel it. You're not performing the way that you thought you would. You're probably binge watching a lot of television shows at this point. I mean, it's lower.
Something in your life has affected your level of performance.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so I'm adopting lower value activities
Okay.
is what I look at. All of us have a curve of performance in our life. And that curve usually starts on the low end, and it's low as far as the percent of time that we're in a low performance arena is low as well.
Okay.
And then as you go to the middle, it gets higher to where probably 80% of the time you're in a middle state of performance.
Okay.
You've ascended the heights to mediocrity.
Okay.
We're medium performance. And then there's those times probably, anywhere from, 10%, 15%, 20%, where you're in the high performance range.
Okay.
So think of it as a camel's hump, right?
Okay.
And I'm drawing it in the air to you, and I know all of you can see this.
Mm-hmm. I can see it.
It's a camel's hump. And what we're talking about is that everyone has a personal performance curve. And there are those people in life whose personal performance curve is more toward medium and high. So in other words, they have their higher performance more of the time. And then there's others who have lower performance
More of the time. Okay.
So you can look at both sides of that and say, now here's the thing, it's not a static measure. Does that make sense?
It's changing all the time.
It changes with all of us all the time. Sometimes we're consistently in the low performance arenas. A lot of the times it's in the middle. We're most of the time in the middle, and then we move into high performance. And there may be weeks, months, and years that we're in a high performance, but we're always moving in and out of those.
Okay.
And so the question is, and the question that you and I were talking about is, okay, how do you get your performance curve to be more toward middle and high than middle and low, or just middle?
Okay.
Right? I mean,
Right.
that's what we were really discussing is how do you do that? How do you move it? Because our performance is usually, everyone's performance is usually all over the map.
Right.
And what we do is we study people that have high performance, and that could be musicians, that could be elite scientists, that could be educators,
Anybody in any
that could
chosen
be in
field
any
that
chosen field or
becomes a
profession,
high performer in that
mothers,
field.
fathers. You could be high performers, and we can point people out and say, whoa, they're really high performers. But I would suggest that most people are high performers at points of time. There's few people that are consistently high performers. And so the question is, what we do is we look at those people that are consistently high performers and say, how is it that they are high performers? And I'm not suggesting that they're burning out. It's not like they're going for the new heights or the new goals or whatever it is. It's just they are consistently performing
at a high level.
A high level.
Okay. That's great. That was a good explanation of the performance curve.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about how we get that performance curve to be, well, we talked about, you had brought up the Jim Collins book. Is it Good to Great?
Yeah. Well, it's Good to Great is the first book that he wrote. It's Great by Choice.
Great by Choice is the book that you've often quoted.
And we quoted in the book, in the Streaking book as well.
What is the quote?
Consistency. Well, sorry. So he's talking about high performing organizations. So think about it as people that are at the from medium to high performance, and they've got most of the time they're in that arena. So their camel's hump is steep because they're most of the time
in the high
performance arena, and so it's very what I'll call tight. It's put together. And he said that in all their research studies, and Jim Collins does studies of high-performing organizations. In this one, it was those organizations that were 10 times better than their peers in the industry or their competitors. And he said that we found in all our research studies.
So just real quick, 10 times better in my mind communicates that this wasn't just a fluke or, the stars aligned and so they were that much better, but that they 10 times better says they are consistently outperforming their peers. They are
Correct.
Enough better that you're like, okay, we can take away some of these other variables that may be affecting that level of performance and assume that level of performance is directly related to something that they are doing.
Absolutely. It's conscious. It's deliberate.
There's
it's purposeful.
something that they are doing that is
they are
creating this performance curve.
And that's a great call out, because when they say 10 times better, it's in all categories.
Right.
It's not in one singular category. It's the categories that are measurable and that you can look at. And so in company speak, that's profits, that's operating income, that's their balance sheet is better, their profit or their profit loss statement or their income statement is better. All of those things are 10 times better.
Okay.
And so he said, in all our research study, we found that the signature of mediocrity is not an unwillingness to change. The signature of mediocrity is chronic inconsistency.
And I loved that he called it chronic inconsistency. I mean, when you think about people that have chronic pain, the word chronic is put in there to say their pain doesn't go away.
Right.
And so, because I think we all experience pain or inconsistency or these things, but to have something be chronic, it means that the only thing they're consistent in is being inconsistent.
Exactly.
Which is not the best thing to be.
And that's what I felt in my personal life. I mean, I could take and apply exactly what he said to my personal life, and I'm, up and down as far as from low to high as far as performance is concerned, and percentage of the time probably in mediocrity. I mean, that's what I've seen most of my life, is that, it's been pretty mediocre because I've been back and forth on the performance scale. And
that mediocrity became dissatisfying.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring something up, because sometimes I feel like we talk about performance and as we were talking about that our performance can be in highs at times and lows at times. I do think that is part of life, that we have these moments that bring us down.
Right.
Something happens, there's change and I think we've all experienced it this year as we've seen how COVID can change, or for us in the last couple days, the attack on the
gas line on the Colonial Pipeline
instantly changed everything, because now we couldn't get gas. So
we were planning on going out of town.
We were.
However, all the gas stations were out of gas, and we felt that it probably wasn't a good time to leave town.
So completely out of our control, and your whole life changes. And so what's amazing is we look at this level of performance, and it's the ability to be able to maintain a level of performance in the midst of that, and how you can do that.
Right.
And so that's what, as I was thinking about her stopping us today and recognizing that level of consistency, it wasn't that she stopped and said, "You guys run so fast."
We don't. Just to be real clear.
Or "You run so far."
Right.
It doesn't have to be at a quantity or at a quality state.
Quality, quantity, intensity.
None of that. It was the consistency that was inspiring.
Yeah.
It was the seeing you every day that was like, oh, there they are again.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
What were you gonna go on to something different? I'm looking at the time, and I don't know if we have time to introduce the next subject, but what were you thinking about?
I was thinking about the next podcast, because we read a really interesting article that has a lot to do with law number 1 of Make It Laughably Simple. And it was talking about how if we want to be a good performer, that maybe instead of looking at adding things to our way to make things better, maybe we look at taking things away.
Subtracting things.
And so
you think we should talk about that in our next podcast?
I think we should talk about it in the next podcast.
Okay, I think that's a good one, because I wanted to revisit just what you said about her and kind of tie the bow on what we were talking about with the woman who stopped us and said, "Thank you for doing what you're doing." What I think about is, so 6 years ago when we started, March 23rd, 2015, when we started this streak, this run walk streak, and then 300 days later when I started the flossing my teeth streak, that then got us onto this whole idea of streaking can be something real and something significant. What it did for us, and what I would suggest for anyone who's listening to us or passing it on to anyone else, is that what streaking does is give you your credibility. It allows you to have your own credibility, so that your focus goes on inputs. And the inputs are those things that are really where we started, was with what you want to be doing or what you feel you should be doing. And when you have those inputs on a consistent basis, for example, I want to be reading more. Well, I'm going to read at least one paragraph daily. Great. Guess what? You are now a reader. And it's laughably simple. And it could even be I know one of our streakers out there, read a word in a book.
Read a word.
I mean,
Yes.
that's
Here's the thing
how
that's
laughably
interesting,
simple
though.
it could
I know
be.
we only have a few seconds, but I was listening to a TED Talk the other day, and it was a woman who she wanted to be a doctor when she first went to college, and then she took biology and she got a D and realized that maybe being a doctor wasn't what she really wanted to do. So then she kind of had gone into marketing. Well, she started a blog at that point, just kind of as a hobby.
Yeah.
And she had gone into marketing. A couple years later, she lost her job in marketing, but her blog was going well. And so she overcame some fears and kind of kept going with the blog. And the blog ended up being something that she did. That's what she ended up doing. But she mentioned in passing that it took her 8 years from the time that she started writing her blog until she actually said out loud to someone that she was a writer. And I thought, isn't that interesting how long it takes? Now, she had she had things in her past to show, you've written a lot of blogs.
You are a writer.
But the amount of time it takes for us to believe that we are something. And that is the beauty of a streak, is that you are just stacking each little individual act on top of each other till you reach a point where you start to think, I am a writer. I do this all the time.
I am a writer. I am a reader. I
am a reader. I am a runner.
Whatever. I'm a runner.
I am kind.
Yes.
I'm whatever your streak is.
Yeah, whatever you want to be, whatever you're aiming to be.
This was a fun conversation today.
Yes, it was. From
Little
where it
all
started
over
to
the
now,
place.
it was great. Hey, if you would like to share with us your streak, we'd love to hear it. Log on to www.streakingmastery.com and register for our newsletter. It's a great newsletter out there. Or email Jamie or I, Jeffrey, Jeffery, at streakingmastery.com.
Or Jamie at JAMI at streakingmastery.com. And feel free to order the book on Amazon and leave a review, or download the app and leave
and
a
we'll be
review.
unabashed about this. Reviews are the lifeblood of books. And if reviews are going on, that's a good thing. So anyway, thanks so much for listening. We will talk to you next time. And until then,
keep streaking.
A better you.